The return of Elijah. Today we're continuing with the fascinating and profoundly significant topic of the return of Elijah the prophet before the great and dreadful day of the Lord.
Revelation 11 and the Loud Cry, Episode 20. Hello everyone. It's been a long time since I uploaded a video. A lot has happened since then, which I won't go into right now. My apologies to my viewers and subscribers for the long silence, and a big thank you for your support. In our last video, it was noted that after the two witnesses provided their testimony, the beast from the abyss launched an attack against them and ultimately killed them. Historically, this event occurred during the French Revolution, when the testimony of God's two witnesses was silenced in France. The spirit of prophecy describes this as a new manifestation of satanic power, which is open and avowed warfare against the Bible. It is the emergence of an anti-God force in the world based on the idea that society can be effectively governed without relying on spiritual or religious authority. In France, we witness the atheism reminiscent of Pharaoh and the licentiousness akin to Sodom, which lasted but a few short years. The same characteristics are manifested in communism, which was present in Eastern Europe for a time, but fell in 1989, when the Italian writer Vittorio Mezzori inquired about the collapse of the USSR. John Paul II responded, "It would be simplistic to say that divine providence caused the fall of communism. It fell by itself as a consequence of its own mistakes and abuses. It fell by itself because of its own inherent weaknesses." To understand the prophetic relevance today, we must keep in mind that the prophets spoke more for our current time than for their own, and the complete realization of the prophecies found in the book of Revelation should be sought in the present. We have recently been witnessing a resurgence of anti-God forces in the world, and the two witnesses have once again been facing condemnation. In today's video, we will explore the stages of this warfare against the Bible, from the birth of Christ to the second advent, the three main players involved in the drama, the strategies employed, and the final outcome. The three stages of the warfare. Stage 1. From the birth of Christ, BC 4, to the beginning of papal supremacy, 538 AD. Revelation 12, verses 1 to 6. Baffled and beaten in his efforts to destroy Christ, Satan then turned and persecuted the church, using pagan Rome, the apostate Jews, and finally, papal Rome. Stage 2. From 538 AD to the end of papal supremacy, 1798 AD. Revelation 12, verses 13 to 16. This period is known as the Dark Ages, and during this time, God's true church was outlawed from the great cities of apostate Christendom and driven from exile in the wilderness. One of the best known Christian communities to preserve a pure faith was the Waldenses, who, though cruelly persecuted, maintained their identity and faith for hundreds of years. They followed the scriptures in simplicity and refused to recognize the authority of the Roman power. Satan made a furious effort to exterminate the fugitive church, but God provided protection and the earth helped the woman. These heroic witnesses comprise God's underground, who, like the faithful 7,000 in Elijah's day, refused to bow their knee to Baal. Stage 3. From 1798 AD to the Second Advent, Revelation 12, verse 17. During the French Revolution that began in 1787 and ended in 1789, the government implemented measures to suppress Christianity and the Bible, the two witnesses, including the abolition of the Christian religion and the replacement of religious institutions with new forms of moral and social order. This de-Christianization policy reached its peak in 1793 with the enactment of laws targeting individuals and practices. After the church emerged from her wilderness refuge at the end of the 18th century and stepped upon the public stage again, Satan continued his bitter warfare against the remnant church, the last remaining portion of the woman's seed. Angry at past failures and knowing that he has only a short time, Satan now fights with the fury of desperation. Revelation 12, verse 12. The warfare against the Bible has been renewed in many parts of the Protestant world. However, in spite of all opposition, the remnant church will steadfastly keep the commandments of God and cling to the original testimony of Jesus Christ. They will finally gain the victory over the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet, the principal agents in the warfare against the Bible. Revelation 16, verse 13. The leader in the warfare against the Bible. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. Revelation 12, verse 3. The great red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns is a symbol of Satan. He is the leader in the warfare against the Bible. Revelation 12, verse 9, calls him that old serpent called the devil and Satan. So there is no room for guesswork here. Satan never appears in public. He always remains invisible. He gets his work done through human agents, people who are willing to become instruments in his hand. Up until the time of John's vision, his most effective instrument in his warfare against God had been Babylon, Medo-Persia, and Greece. But at the time of John's vision, his most effective instrument on earth was pagan Rome. The main instrument used by Satan in the warfare against the Bible. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Revelation 13, verse 1. This beast with 7 heads and 10 horns is Satan's principal instrument in the last days in his warfare against the Bible. John sees it rising up out of the sea, Revelation 13, verse 1, which is a populated area. This beast is Rome in its second phase, or its papal form, commonly called the papacy. The 7 heads are symbolic of kingdoms or divisions of kingdoms. They represent the 7 nations or powers of Europe hostile to God. The woman sitting upon the scarlet-colored beast is brought to view in Revelation 17, verse 3. Like the beast, it too has 7 heads and 10 horns, and is representative of Rome in its dual form, with the woman representing the church and the beast representing the state. It is a union of church and state. Rome is a city built on 7 mountains, and Revelation 17, verses 9 and 10 tells us that the 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. And there are 7 kings or kingdoms. Power was given to this beast with 7 heads and 10 horns to wage war against the 2 witnesses for 42 months or 1260 years, from 538 to 1798 AD. The 10 horns. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called chosen and faithful. Revelation 17, verses 12 to 14. The 10 horns continuing. And he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Revelation 17, verses 15 to 16. This beast has 10 horns, and Daniel 7:24 tells us that the 10 horns are 10 kings or kingdoms that shall arise. It is generally held that the 10 horns of Revelation 17, which are 10 powers, are the 10 European nations. But is this true? If the 7 heads are said to represent the 7 European nations, how can the 10 horns be the 10 European nations as well? Question: what does the Bible say about the 10 horns? Answer: they have not yet received their kingdom. They received their kingly power 1 hour. In other words, suddenly. They are of one mind and give their strength unto the beast. They finally realize that they have been deceived and turn against the whore, i.e., Babylon. The Euphrates that once made the city of Babylon rich and powerful now turns against it, causing her to fall. The simplest way to explain these symbols is to compare them with Daniel 2 and Daniel 7, where the same 4 empires are presented. Babylon, the head of gold, in Daniel 2 is the lion in Daniel 7. Media Persia, the breast of silver in Daniel 2 is the bear in Daniel 7. Greece, the thighs of brass in Daniel 2 is the leopard in Daniel 7. And Rome, the legs of iron in Daniel 2 is the nondescript beast in Daniel 7. Finally, the kingdoms of Western Europe, the feet and legs in Daniel 2 are the 10 horns in Daniel 7. The fourth beast, the fourth and final kingdom, which is Rome, has a dual form: pagan Rome and papal Rome, which is also called the little horn. Like a new horn on the head of a bullock, the little horn, the papacy, came up among the 10 horns in the midst of the barbarian kingdom which partitioned the old Roman Empire. This beast of Revelation 13, papal Rome, or Rome in its second phase, is the papacy. Rome is known universally as the city of seven hills. The Catholic Encyclopedia states, it is within the city of Rome, called the City of Seven Hills, that the entire area of Vatican State proper is now confined. Interestingly enough, Rome was also known as Babylon. Catholic apologist Carl Kane writes, Babylon is a code word for Rome. It is used that way 6 times in the last book of the Bible in extra biblical works such as Sibylline oracles, the Apocalypse of Baruch, and Esdras. Eusebius Pamphilus, writing about 303, noted that Peter referred to Rome figuratively as Babylon. Could Rome be the woman riding the beast? That would make good sense because the beast she rides is the revived Roman Empire. Everyone is embraced by Rome except evangelical Christians, whom the Pope calls sects and warns Catholics against their errors. By ecumenism, Rome signifies all religions uniting under the Pope. The notion of separated brethren is often used to refer to those outside the Catholic Church. The beast that is the eighth and is of the seven, and the beast that was and is not, even is the eighth, and is of the seven, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. Revelation 17, verses 11 and 12. The beast that was and is not is clearly the papacy, which received a deadly wound at the end of its 1260 years of supremacy. According to the Bible, that beast, the papacy, is the eighth beast and is of the seven. What does that mean? We will soon find out. The strategy used by the dragon in its warfare against the Bible. Satan never appears in public. He always remains invisible and gets his work done through instruments. The 4 universal empires, Babylon, Media Persia, Greece, and Rome, have been his instruments throughout history. The 8 heads mentioned in Revelation 17 are as follows. Babylon is the first head. Media Persia is the second head. Greece is the third head. And Rome pagan is the fourth head. Following the fall of pagan Rome in 476 AD, the little horn, papal Rome, sprang up amongst the 10 heads. It had the eyes of a man and speak great things against God and wore out the saints of the Most High God. That is the fifth head. The power remaining after the fall of papal Rome was political atheism, which is the sixth head. It is the power that caused a deadly wound to the papacy historically. It had been Rome's policy under a profession of reverence for the Bible to keep it locked up in an unknown tongue and hidden away from the people. Under her rule, the witnesses prophesied, clothed in sackcloth. But another power, the beast from the bottomless pit, was to arise to make open avowed war upon God. The beast from the bottomless pit is political atheism and is the sixth head. We are currently witnessing a resurgence of that anti God power today, and it will be succeeded by papal Rome revived, which is the seventh head. In its dual form, it is represented as a woman riding a scarlet colored beast. This is the eighth head, which is of the seventh. The deadly wound is healing rapidly, and the greatest manifestation of this phenomenon is ecumenism or the interfaith movement. To learn more about this, join us for episode 21 of Revelation 11 and the loud cry. Let's summarize. The beast from the abyss, which is a new manifestation of satanic power, wages open warfare against the two witnesses and kills them following their testimony. They lie unburied for a time, and believing them to be dead, the world celebrates. The celebration takes the form of licentiousness and idolatry of the worst kind ever on a global scale. This picture presents a striking image of the state of the world in the last days when history is repeated. We are currently witnessing a resurgence of the war against the two witnesses, which are receiving the onslaught of the waves like a rock in the sea, fronting it. But the word of God stands immovable through the ages as a wall of protection from error and folly, impregnable to the assaults of Satan. The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of God will stand forever. Isaiah 40, verse 8. We have reached right down to the end of time when the prophecy concerning the war against the two witnesses is finding its complete fulfillment. This is history in the making, and all are involved. There are only two sides: Christ or Satan, truth or error, good or evil. Whose side are you on? Choose Christ and live, for why will you die? Thank you for joining us today. Take care. Bye for now. Stay tuned for Revelation 11 and the Loud Cry, episode 21. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel to receive updates whenever we post new contents.